Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm very happy you're with us today. Part of the fun of doing afterlife research is that there are some people in this field who, really are researchers. I mean, they're researchers of almost the cloak and dagger variety. They revel in doing deep dive research. They're trying to unravel some genuine mysteries. And since the field of afterlife research is one in which there actually are some genuine villains, and even better, as in any good detective story, some of those villains are white hat villains. They're scientists. So you don't expect them to suspect that they're going to be, really evil, but they're trying to keep the good guys from finding the truth or doing what's right. So actually, they're kind of villains all the same. Those detective stories can be pretty exciting. If you've heard some of my older podcasts, I think you know where this is going. Mainstream science is distinctly not a friend of afterlife research. And by now you may have begun to explore seekreality.com, and you've found that there Craig Hogan and I do not hesitate to tackle the scientific community head on in their foolish insistence in studying only what is material, when in fact reality is fundamentally not material at all. Well, in reality, there have been some wonderful pioneers who were working in that field before we were. Our guest this week is Craig Weiler, who is with us for the third time. Craig is a parapsychology journalist, a speaker, and host of the popular blog, the Weiler Psi, on the science of parapsychology, skepticism, and the psychics. Craig is a graduate of UC Berkeley, and he runs a small construction business. He began his spiritual path during the New Age movement, teaching and practicing psychic healing. He says he doesn't follow any particular teachings, but he explores a very westernized mixture of science and spirituality. He lives on the San Francisco Peninsula with his wife and what he says is way too many cats. Now, we have one cat, and one cat is way too many cats, in my opinion, although I love her dearly. He's on the social media site Quora, where he answers questions on a wide range of topics and administers a parapsychology space with over 13,000 followers. Welcome, my dear friend Craig. It's lovely to have you back with us again.
Roberta, it is great to be here. I always have a great time talking to you. Thank you.
Craig's terrific book from England's esteemed and prestigious White Crow Books is called Psi Wars, TED, Wikipedia, and the Battle for the Internet. I love the title and I love the book. It was first published in 2013, and it's out last fall in a new edition. And Craig was our guest last fall when it first came out. Craig is the science editor for Paranormal Daily News, which can be found at paranormaldailynews.com, not surprisingly. You told me last fall that, and no, actually, I guess you told me just recently, but anyway, we had some fascinating news to talk about this time. And I did read that link. As you can tell, I'm all scattered because we've been working this spring on seekreality.online while I still try to practice law. I keep practicing law because I'll just never get it right, but that's all right. I love doing it. But it's been a huge distraction to be doing my daily work plus Seek Reality Online. And I read that link that you've sent me, and then I promptly forgot what it was all about. So we're going to have to ask you to walk us through it. But it was fascinating. You told me, though, that you could sum it all up, and it comes down to, and I love this, I just have to read it. Just as the magical traditions have always maintained, belief modulates psi performance. So in other words, if you don't believe in magic, then no magic for you. Just like the soup Nazi. No magic for you, no soup for you. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. The story here is that I was at I was at an online conference for the Parapsychological Association. They are the scientific body that basically manages the scientific output of various researchers around the world. And I was at one of the conferences. This one had to do with the theories of psychic ability. And I ran into a fellow there. His name was Russell Gruber. And he explained that he had done 18 years of parapsychology research and hadn't told anybody about it. This was at Eastern Illinois University. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? 18 years and nobody knows about this stuff? That was completely unheard of. Okay, nobody does that. But he did.
Right.
And he had a few reasons for it. And some of them are more interesting than others. The first reason was obviously that when you start doing parapsychology at an American university, you can draw unwanted attention, which can mess with your ability to do the research. So by doing this really, really quietly and on the side, and not making a bunch of noise about it, the university just let him do his thing for 18 years. So that part of his plan was successful. And the other thing, which was, and this gets into the real weirdness of psychic ability, that he was afraid that as soon as he started publishing his research, it would mess everything up. And it sounds weird.
It does, because 18 years, that's kind of crazy.
It is, yeah. But the thing is that psychic ability is weird. And when he was explaining this to other researchers at another conference that I just attended, they all started laughing because they knew exactly what he meant. As soon as other people get into your research, I guess, for lack of a better word, the field around it changes. And so getting results is now a different process. And by staying in his own space, doing his own thing in his own way, he was able to get the results that he wanted. I know that's batshit, but apparently that's a thing in parapsychology. There's some weirdness to it. And so he continued doing this for 18 years. And then what happened was, when he was at the conference, he said he needed somebody to publicize this. Well, this is what I do. So I was really happy to have the opportunity to be the first person to read through his work and make sense of it. I mean, this is just a real big honor for me. I'm a parapsychology journalist. I live for this stuff. So I worked with him on and off for about a month of God knows how many Zoom calls trying to get this all down pat. There were 9 different graduate level essays that contained most of the work. And so I read all of them and then condensed this down into about a 19-minute article so that people could understand what was going on. And then I had this looked over by Dean Radin so that he could make some comments from a parapsychologist's point of view. Dean Radin is a senior researcher and basically the god of parapsychology.
Explain where he is, what he does.
Everything.
Right.
If it has to do with parapsychology, he's done it.
Right.
And he's written several books, and he is so he's the person where he walks in the room and everybody kind of bows at his feet. He's got that kind of status in parapsychology.
Right.
Not literally, but he so having him look it over was a big plus. And so he made some comments, and we changed it and made the article a little bit more accurate. It turned out that I had made a big deal about stuff that other researchers had already gone over. In fact, most of this research that I'm working through is, or that I wrote about, has to do with stuff that other researchers have already delved into, but they haven't looked at it quite the same way. And the big deal about Russell Gruber's research is that he went into a great deal of effort to go into the aspect of psychic testing, which is known as psi missing. So psi missing is a weird thing in parapsychology, because you can get right answers in a test and show your psychic ability, but you can also get so many wrong answers that shows psychic ability too.
Why? Explain that.
Well, it's in technical terms, this is called a two-tailed test. So what you're trying to do is beat the odds of chance results. Okay, so you can choose. You have a target, and there are 4 possibilities, and you have to guess the right target. Okay, so your chances are 1 in 4, 25%. So if you do this test and there are 10 opportunities and you miss all 10 of them, that demonstrates psychic ability almost as if you had gotten 10 of them right. Except you're missing. In other words, it's what's also called psi avoidance. Some part of you knows what that target is and then misses it.
Golly.
Now that's the base. Believe it or not, that's just ordinary parapsychology right there. It's a statistical thing where you can you can have results in excess of chance by missing. And
my word.
I know. And he set up his test in a very specific way. So he had a box with 4 different squares, and you had to guess the correct one. One box was marked hit and one box was marked miss. And the way that works is if you get a blank box, you keep going. But if you get a hit or a miss, you stop. And this makes your chance of getting a hit and a chance of getting a miss the same. You follow?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So the important information to take away here is that the test was designed so that getting a hit or getting a miss is basically 2 sides of the same result.
Wow.
So this was his test. It was a very elegant, easy test for the people, for the students actually, that he used as test subjects. And so that all they had to do was guess, and sometimes they got hits and sometimes they got misses. And you could, with really easy statistically, tell whether somebody was missing or whether they were hitting. So what did he do with this? All kinds of things. In one particular test, for example, he had people send the wrong. He told the receiver to try to get hits, and had senders deliberately try to send him misses to see what would happen. So the senders were trying to convey the information telepathically that they're trying to telepathically give him the wrong answer, and the receiver was trying to get the correct answer. And in those particular situations, the receiver would exceed chance getting wrong answers. So why is that important? Because the reason that it's important, getting wrong answers from the senders, is that you know for sure you're using telepathy and not something else. This is the discussion within the world of parapsychology of, consciousness is a black box, and we don't know whether this person is doing this through clairvoyance, or maybe they're using precognition and seeing the answer first before they encounter it. But in this particular case, we know it's telepathy because the people were getting the information from the senders and getting it wrong because that's what the senders were doing to them. They were deliberately screwing them up.